In our next pair of exercises, we're going to take a look at situations where price ceilings and floors are better and worse. You've probably figured out through this lecture that economists typically don't like price ceilings and floors. They take that quantity traded away from its equilibrium level, from the level where the buyers and sellers are agreeing on how much should be produced and consumed. But that actually leads us into the situation where price ceilings and floors are going to be less bad and even potentially good, particularly when the quantity is not going to change very much. Well, why would quantity not change very much? Because either the buyers or the sellers are relatively insensitive to price. That is, demand and supply are inelastic. And so what we're going to look at over these two exercises is exactly which curve it is that matters for exactly which policy. So let's first look at the price ceiling. We're going to put in a price ceiling below equilibrium. So I've started us off here by marking the current quantity. So at our current equilibrium in panel 1 and panel 2, we've got this dotted line representing our current quantity that's going to be traded, our market equilibrium quantity. Next, we're going to put on a price ceiling below equilibrium, so it has an effect, and it's going to be the same price in each market. So I've put that in there straight across to say that is the regulated price. Okay, so now we can see how that quantity is going to change. As we trace across on this price, we hit the supply curve and the demand curve, but only one of those actually matters. Can you tell which one? Well, for determining quantity, what matters is the lower of those two quantities. In this case, the sellers are only going to provide this much stuff. And so that'll be the quantity that's traded. On the left, then, we get a big change in quantity. On the right, we just get a small change in quantity. So if we were going to implement a price ceiling in this market, doing it in the market on the right would be a better idea than the market on the left. So when supply is elastic, that's the panel on the left, panel 1, we get a big change in quantity. When supply is inelastic, a price ceiling gives us a small change in quantity. Okay, so now let's do the same for a price floor and see which curve it is that matters for the price floor. So we'll start off the same way. Let's go ahead and stick in our equilibrium quantity again. And now we'll go ahead and put in a price floor. It's got to be above equilibrium to have an effect, right? So we put in price floor in each case, same regulated price in each case. And so what's the quantity traded in this market going to be? Again, as we trace across that price line, it's whichever curve we hit first. That's the one that's going to be the limiting factor in this case. So here it's the amount that people want to buy that'll be the limit at the higher regulated price. So where is that? Well, on the left it's here and we're getting a small change in quantity. On the right it's here and we're getting a big change in quantity. In this left panel, the demand curve is really inelastic. In the right panel, it's really elastic. And so that leads us to our answers here. When demand is inelastic, a price floor doesn't change the quantity very much. When demand is elastic, it changes quantity a lot. And so good policymakers will pay attention then to the elasticity of the relevant curve when they're deciding whether to implement a price ceiling. A price ceiling is not so bad an idea if supply is really inelastic, but it's bad when supply is really elastic. A price floor isn't so bad when demand is inelastic, but is really bad when demand is elastic.